Okay, I think I'm live now. Can anyone hear me? Is anyone watching? Zero people watching right now? Okay. Maybe I'll just wait slightly to see if anyone shows up. So I see someone in the chat saying hi. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you write whether you can hear me? This is the first time for me streaming, so I'm not sure if I've set everything up correctly. Okay, so at least one person can hear me, so we'll just get started and dive right into the patch. So 7.27b. This is the big hero patch. You can see there's lots and lots of different changes, lots of heroes being changed. Not all heroes, but most heroes get some changes. So just going to do a live stream here for the first time, get this out in a timely manner, and just go through things quickly. It's 2 a.m. where I am in Germany, so I don't want this to drag on for too long. I don't want it to be the next purge. So let's just get through this quickly. So, item changes. Following items can no longer be disassembled. Abyssal Blade, Mjolnir, Silver Edge, Solar Crests. I wasn't even aware you could disassemble those, so whatever. Echo Saber. I don't really know if this has a lot of practical use, but I guess. Then Veil of Discord can be applied to invulnerable units. Okay. MKB is going to be nerfed, so 200 gold more. The problem with MKB was that it's just the best general purpose DPS item. And if the best general purpose DPS item also pierces evasion, that kind of makes evasion a bit pointless. So this is a good nerf, makes the item a bit weaker. And then Orchid was just a bit too strong in the last patch, so gets a slight nerf, makes sense. And then Hand of Midas gets another buff, minus 100 to the gold cost. So I think this item is actually now kind of good. I think it's actually an item that you now want to buy on like a reasonable number of heroes. So I guess we'll talk about a little bit more about that when we get to the actual heroes. And just I've already read some of these changes, but some of them I'm reading for the first time, so let's just go through this together. So Abaddon, base health region increased, so slightly better in laning stage, and then Mistcall gets a slight buff here, and Talons also slightly buffed. Abaddon was kind of an underpicked hero, so it makes sense to get some slight buffs, but honestly this is pretty minor. Then Alchemist gets a slight buff to Unstable Concoction radius, so 50 extra radius, and Talons are also slightly improved. I'm not sure how strong Alchemist is going to be with this, but we'll just have to wait and see. Then Ancient Apparition gets the mana cost. Someone saying Support Alchemist is back, baby. I'm not sure if that's enough for Support Alchemist to get back. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see Support Alchemist at the moment. It would need some more buffs, I think, to some of these talents. Ancient Apparition, Ice Vortex, mana cost reduced from 40, 60, 80, 100 to slightly less, so it's like 5 less for each level up. Okay, and then Chilling Touch, attack range increased, so a bunch of talent buffs. I'm not sure it's going to make a huge difference, but I feel like AA was a bit weak. It's like he occupied this niche of this hero that's like the one that removes regen. But since there's so many items that also reduce regen, you have your Vessel, you have Skadi now reducing regen, you have Shiva's Guard reducing regen. That kind of made AA a bit obsolete, so now it makes sense to give him a couple of buffs to make this hero more relevant. What's happening with BS? Please explain us, sir. I haven't gotten to Bloodseeker yet. At least I think that you mean Bloodseeker by BS. Anti-Mage, agility gain reduced by 0.2. So Anti-Mage, with the game slowing down a bit and with Battle Fury being a bit cheaper, was very strong in 727 and 727A. So it makes sense to get some slight nerfs, and these are very slight nerfs. Like, yes, one less strength, and like this level 25 talent is slightly nerfed. Anti-Mage is still going to be very strong in this patch, I feel. Then we get to Arc Warden. You get 1 base armor, taking literally no damage, and a bit more agility. So I feel like Arc Warden was already like kind of okay, like sort of on the weak side, and now get some slight buffs here. Also slight nerf here, but you're overall definitely a buff. And also the talents being rearranged a little bit here. So now you get 200 health and 50 attack speed instead of 30 attack speed and 250 health. So that's probably a bit better. Yeah. Also, like 15% cooldown reduction at 15 is a lot better than 6% at level 10. So I feel the talent changes are a buff. And this combined with the buffs to Midas makes me think that Arc Warden is going to be a fairly good hero in this new patch. And also just there's the fact that the game is slowed down so much. Also, another incidental indirect buff is the nerf to MKB, because Arc Warden relies on evasion with his bubble. If MKB is spot less, that makes Arc Warden a bit better. So I feel like this patch might be a good fit for Arc Warden. Then we have Axe, who was nerfed a bit in 727 by basically the removal of backlaning. So you can no longer really dodge these bad matchups, but as compensation you now get slightly better Culling Blade later on in the game, and you get, I feel like these are some improvements to his talents. So what's people saying in the chat? Yeah, we get to Lone Druid later. Just spoilers, I think Lone Druid is definitely quite a bit weaker now, but I feel he's still playable. I don't think that he's been nerfed to death as has happened at some points in the past. It's like a bunch of nerfs, but they're not fatal, I think. Dream come true for Arc Warden spammer, and the meme hammer build in 200 health, literally unkillable with Arc Warden, I guess. I'm not sure if you really want to go for meme hammer. I can actually see that in Arc Warden. Just really good farming item. But we'll see. If you're on mobile, there should be a button in the top right where you can turn off chat overlay. Okay, I guess that's for viewers. Okay, that's just answering the question that Mikkel Salmonson had. Okay, so let's continue here. We have so Axe, I think, probably still slightly weaker than he was before 727, but at least these are like some slight buffs. Bane was really overpowered support. He is like an insane win rate in high level pubs, but he's not really getting nerfed too much here. So he loses 1 to all attributes, and Brain Sap costs slightly more. And level 15 talent is actually improved, and level 20 talent is nerfed. So I feel like this hero is still going to be incredibly powerful despite these slight nerfs. Batrider, agility gain increased from 1.5 to 1.8. Sticky Napalm turn rate slow reduced from 70 to 40, 50, 60, 70. So this is now going to be a lot worse at level 1, but the same at level 4. And then Lasso Scepter secondary target range increased from 450 to 550, so Aghanim slightly better now. And then Talons from 2-second Flame Break burn duration to 5 sticky napalm damage. I don't really know enough about Batrider to know if that's a buff or a nerf. Level 20 talent is buffed here, so overall I think definitely a nerf to Batrider. You don't really care very much about agility, but you definitely care about this stuff in the early laning stage. But Batrider was a very popular hero, so it makes sense he gets a bit of a nerf, and it just makes sense to make him a bit less oppressive in the laning stage at the start. It's like some matchups where it's really bad against Batrider. And Batrider will never not get nerfed in at least some ways. You know, if you remember like the TI3 Batrider, that really was a piece of work, and I'm very, very glad that they nerfed that thing to the ground. Okay, Beastmaster. Now we're talking about the proper Sue heroes here. Call the Wild is slightly more expensive on the board cost, but you probably want to go for Necro Book anyway, and so you don't really mind this too much. And Wild Axes actually gets slightly cheaper, so a bit of a side grade. I still don't think that you generally want to go for the Wild Axes build. Just Call of the Wild is still just too strong. These potions do so much damage. You can't really skip that. And like going for Call of the Wild and Wild Axes, it's like a thing you can do in certain matchups, like if you're playing against a hero like Naga. The axes are really strong to clear the illusions. So in those matchups, you're probably going to get like 2 or 3 levels in the Wild Axes at the start, and then max out Call of the Wild. So in that case, in those matchups, you're actually going to be a bit stronger because you're actually going to have less mana problems. And then Talons. We now have Hawk Vision instead of a Hawk cooldown reduction. I'm not sure if that's better or worse. Definitely means that it's going to be less mana intensive. Yeah, a bit of a side grade. You get slightly more health on the level 20 talent, which was the talent you usually didn't choose. And then level 20 talent, the Wild Axes damage is improved. So these sort of underused talents get a bit of a buff. Okay. Okay, more people arriving. Nice. See some familiar faces. You know, Garvin, 12-7, 0SY. Okay, nice of you all to show up here. And then someone was asking about Bloodseeker earlier, so let's see. We get int increased, so with 3 base, and that's a pretty big deal, and then also 0.3 per level. Said my name, Garvin, the starving Garvin, in the chat. Okay, Blood Rage has been reworked, increases attack speed now. So 140 attack speed max level, and also increases spell amp. And very importantly to note, spell amp doesn't mean magic damage amp, it means all spell damage. So it means your what is that, blood rite, whatever that's called, that gets increased. Also increases damage if you go for radiance, things like that. Also increases damage of procs like MKB. And then it drains max health per second, so sort of going back to the roots. A long time ago, Blood Rage used to drain health. You can cast it yourself or allied heroes, but allied heroes only get half the attack speed. Doesn't silence you though, so not going quite as far back. For 8 seconds, cooldown is 8 seconds at max level, and costs actually some mana, 40 mana. And doesn't do lethal damage, so maybe we're gonna see some Amulet Bloodseeker incoming, possibly. So do some nice Amulet toggling, and it can be casted without interrupting movement. Okay. So changes the function fundamentally, And I've already read a bit ahead and seen that Thirst now gives you HP back for creeps killed. So we get 15% passively for creep kills and 30% for hero kills at max level. But it no longer gives you attack speed because you now get attack speed from Blood Rage. And then into the talents you get, I guess, slightly stronger talents. So 1 extra armor. Again, cue the literally taking no damage meme. And then 30 attack speed, but only if you have Blood Rage active. And I guess it also applies to allies, although they only get half. So actually, I think this level 10 talent might even be worse now. Because, I mean, you don't always want to have Blood Rage on you. Because 3% of max health is actually not insignificant. So I'm honestly not sure what this does for Bloodseeker in terms of balance. Yeah, Radiance Bloodseeker might be back. So Cyril saying, I see Mask of Bandits first, lifesteal into Radiance to MKB or BKB. Yeah, that might be a thing. Yeah, I'm not sure if Mask of Madness is worth it. Starving Garvin is also skeptical. So, thing is, you already get lots of attack speed. Like 140 attack speed is a lot. You don't really need Mask of Madness on top of that. You'd rather be more looking into some sort of damage item. Or maybe even Midas into Radiance. That would be a bit greedy, but possible. But I'm also not sure if you actually want to go for Radiance. Maybe you just want to go for more active items, as items allow you to fight earlier. But yeah, I'm not enough of a Bloodseeker player to really make any sort of confident prediction here. Yeah, early Basher might be good. You have so much attack speed, and Basher is just in general a really strong item. I'm really surprised that they haven't nerfed Basher. It just seems kind of broken. Like, this item is just so strong, gives you so much damage, and the bash, obviously, the disable is great. Okay, so let's move on to Bounty Hunter. Base mana region increased, 0.5 mana region, okay. And then damage spread reduced, so last hitting is easier. And track mana is slightly cheaper. Level 10 talent changed from 20 damage to 40 Ginada damage. That seems like a nerf to me, probably. But maybe if you support, that's slightly better. Because you're not going to be attacking that often. And the other 10 talent is now plus 5 movement speed. Maybe one day bounty support will return. Yeah, maybe. But I mean, if you're playing support bounty, you still probably want the movement speed talent over that Ginada damage talent. But yeah, I just don't feel like Bounty Hunter support offers enough to really justify that hero pick. It just doesn't. You just don't get enough gold from that track for your allies. That was really one of the primary attractions of the old Bounty Hunter support, as well as, of course, the excellent vision that it gave. But now it only gives you vision of that hero and not of the surroundings, so I don't really see support Bounty Hunter just doing enough currently. But this is going to help core Bounty Hunter. It's going to be a bit better in lane, slightly easier last hitting, but I still feel like Bounty Hunter is a bit of a marginal hero. Brewmaster, Thunderclap no longer has a separate value for creeps. Thank God. It was so annoying playing Lone Druid for some stupid reason that Thunderclap just lasted forever on the bear. Like, it's just really weird. There's like a handful of abilities that just treat the Lone Druid bear like a creep, and Thunderclap is one of them. So, yeah. But of course, that's a nerf to Brewmaster. But really, it doesn't matter too much. Like in some of these matchups, like against Lone Druid, it matters, but most of the time, it's not really a big deal. Cinder Brew gets a bit of a rework here. It costs less mana, but does less damage at lower levels. And then at max level, it's slightly better than it used to be. So you can now sort of choose whether you want to leave it at level 1 and have a very cheap slow that doesn't do as much damage. Or you can level it up and have actually a pretty good damage ability. Like 300 damage for 80 mana, that's actually so efficient. Of course, it also requires activation, some other hero in your lane to cast a spell or to land a Thunderclap. And then Primal Split gets a bunch of improvements. So the Earth Panda is going to be slightly faster, or actually a lot faster in high levels. And damage is increased on the Storm, and mana also increased, so you can cast more spells. It's actually a pretty big deal, 400 extra mana level 1. You can cast so many more things. And then the fire attack backspring animation is reduced, so okay. And talent also increased at level 10 talent, the extra HP, and then level 20 talent, the Drunken Brawler crit is reduced. So this really is a big improvement to Brewmaster in more of a utility role. Maybe like a slight nerf to this more carry-ish playstyle with a level 25 talent, but still, of course, you just still get a lot more utility out of Primal Split. Yeah, I feel like Brewmaster with these changes is going to be actually really strong. Especially that Primal Split is just so much better now. So I definitely see him being played more as an offlaner now. Broodmother, agility gain increased, so that's pretty substantial, 0.4 agility. That's another 4 agility at level 11. Incapacitating Bite is now slightly stronger, so plus 4% at all levels. Spawn Spiderling health increased from 280 to 320, and the magic resistance is reduced. So you're now slightly tankier against physical and pure damage, and slightly less tanky against magic damage. I feel like overall this is probably a nerf, because you're really worried about AoE damage, and most AoE damage tends to be magical. So, of course, it depends on the matchup. In certain matchups, you're now stronger, and other matchups, you're now weaker. But on the whole, I think this is a slight nerf, but these two are buffs, so overall, I think Broodmother is slightly better than before. Okay, let me pause for a little bit of a drink. Pinto is saying, I think Necro just auto kills spiders at level 7 now. Possibly, we have to try that out. But yeah, just generally all these magic nukes are just going to be a lot better against the spiders. Like, also keep in mind that this just makes the region that they have less efficient, because one of the strong things about the spiders and previously was that they just regen so quickly. Now they have more HP, but they just take more damage, so that region is going to be less efficient. Okay, Centaur Warrunner. Retaliate no longer has an active component that provides attack damage. Thank God, whenever I play Centaur, I always forget to activate that thing. Really embarrassing. So now I no longer have to think about that. And now also returns a percentage of your strength as damage. Base damage reduced at high levels, but still you're going to return more damage. But now only half damage returned to towers. So yeah, that makes sense. I felt like this retaliate on towers was way too strong. So yeah, like overall I think this is probably enough to retaliate. Just like these stacks with the bonus damage were really strong in lane in particular. But like this is gonna allow him to just scale better. Double Edge cooldown reduced from 5 to 4. That's a pretty big deal. Hoof Stomp cooldown reduced. Hoofstop damage increased. That's actually pretty substantial. And Hoofstomp stun duration reduced. Okay, so more damage but less stun. And also costs less mana at low levels. Okay, a bit of a side grade here. Yeah, we're going slowly back to Dota All-Stars. It's just really weird how many things just get reverted to how they used to be. I don't know, maybe it was just Ice Rock just taking a break for a couple of years and now it's returned or something like that. I don't know. But yeah. I'm not sure if this is like a buff or a nerf. I feel like this now makes the ability a lot better in the early game, the laning stage. But later on, we really don't care too much about that damage. Like in late game, do you really care whether you do an extra 70 damage here? You really care more about the stun. Of course, it's better for farming now, but really you're not really using Hoofstomp for farming typically. So a bit of a side grade. And then talents changed from 25 base damage to 40 damage. Okay, did they actually have a plus 25 base damage talent? Interesting. Okay, and 70 retaliate damage to 50. Okay, so that level 20 talent is definitely getting a lot worse here. Yeah, I'm not sure actually what this does in total. I feel like maybe a slight buff, but hard to tell at this point. Okay, Chaos Knight gets a bunch of changes. So Chaos Strike now once again is a chance to proc instead of using a cooldown. So the goofy support Chaos Knight is dead. Chaos Knight now once again purely a core. And 30% proc is definitely just makes his ability a lot stronger later on, but it's going to be weaker in the laning stage. It's like this guaranteed crit on a timer just meant you could use it to last hit and to trade a lot better. It's going to make laning stage worse, but later on it's much better. Okay, then we have Phantasm. Cooldown reduced from 125 to 75. That's a very big buff. Now goes back to having fewer illusions at level 1. So 1, 2, and 3 illusions, but no chance of spawning extra illusions. I really demand for that to be returned for the nostalgia factor. But I guess in terms of gameplay, it makes sense not to have that. Okay, and then the damage now no longer scales and starts at 100%. So basically level 1 you went from having like 120 damage with these 3 illusions to now we're having 100 damage, so I guess level 1 is going to be slightly worse now. But level 3 is no change. But I mean having like a slightly worse level 1 but much more often is I think a buff. But you no longer have extra magic resistance on these illus, but the mana cost also is reduced by a lot. And for a hero like CK who has a lot of mana problems, this is a huge deal. Just like straight up 100 less mana at level 3 and 50 less mana cost at level 1 is a pretty big deal. Yeah, so also talent changes. Slight buffs, I guess. Actually, this level 25 talent, max chaos spell duration 1.5, and now it's +1 to both min and max, so that's also a buff. Yeah, so it's a whole bunch of buffs for CK. Lynx is going to be slightly worse, but other than that, I think he's going to be quite a bit stronger now. Yeah, definitely can see Chaos Knight being a very strong hero now. Also, he was one of those heroes who sometimes went Midas in the past, and now that Midas is so buffed, definitely an item to consider on him. Clinks. Int gain increased by a lot, by 0.5. Also, attack point improved. That's going to make his attack animation much smoother. Okay, someone talking about Visage. We're not there yet. But by the way, very significantly missing here is Chen. No changes to Chen, which is good because Chen is very strong right now. So good that it's not getting nerfed. Okay, now to Clinks. Back to Clinks. Steering arrows now cost slightly more. Do slightly more damage, but cost a bit more mana at the start. But you're also going to have more mana to play with. Strafe is a basic ability again, a bunch of attack speed, and the evasion against ranged attacks. Last 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. Cooldown fairly high, and not very expensive though. So, okay. Skeleton Walk now gives Invis and movement speed. Didn't it already do that? Does not end invisibility when casting his spells. Okay, that's interesting. So you can cast Death Pact while Skeleton Walked, or you can use Burning Army. Okay, so alright. I'm not sure exactly what the old values were. I'm not really much of a Clinks player. And then Burning Army is now an Aghanim's ability. They have 1000 health, but die in 2 hits and deal 30% of your damage. Why do they have health and hit counter? So like, do they get the damage from like magic damage and stuff from spells? I'm not sure. And deal 30% of your damage. Doesn't say base damage, so I'm guessing bonus damage counts too. Do they still use steering arrows? I'm guessing they do. So yeah, do you want to buy this Aghanims? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's good enough. Yeah, so we have Death Pact, back to the basics, back to the roots. Consider the target friendly creep or enemy creep, gaining percentage of his hit points as max health or damage. You get 6, scaling up to 14% of the target's current health and as damage, and then 100% as health. Last 65 seconds, cooldown 80, 70, 60. Okay. So you can no longer eat all my Chen creeps, which is good. What is weird? Just like the old Clinks, yeah. It's like a lot of things just being reverted to the way they were, which I don't mind. Then a whole bunch of talent changes. Oh, I don't know if you ever want to read all of those. I don't know. I'm not enough of a Clinks player to really pass judgment here, but feels like he's maybe slightly better in lane, especially with that better attack animation. Because the really horrible attack animation was really holding Clinks back in lane, so I feel like maybe he's slightly stronger now, but honestly I don't know. Like the old Aghanims was also really strong, and losing that is gonna be a problem. At least I assume that you no longer have the old Aghanims. If the Aghanims has both, it would be really broken. But so I think that's just replacement for Aghanims. And yeah, I think they did get rid of permanent kill damage. Okay, Clockwork. Rocket Flare. Vision duration reduced 10 to 8. Okay. And level 15 talent changed from 12 strength to +1 power cogs hit to kill. Okay. Not not sure if that's really better, but I'm assuming like +1 power card hits is actually pretty annoying. But this is of course a nerf. I'm not sure how much this really does. I feel like Clockwork was fairly strong, but not a hero that was picked a lot, so I'm not sure. Okay, so the creep spawned per axe has 1k health because it can be consumed by clinks. Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, so it's like an emergency thing if you can consume your own creep, but like obviously, of course, ideally you want to consume like jungle creeps or creeps from like Chen or Helm of Dominator or whatever. But if nothing is nearby, you can consume your skeleton army archers if you have Aghanims. Okay, I guess. Crystal Maiden is now swift as the Wolves of Icerack. Also base int increased by 2, but no extra base damage, so just slightly better. But I feel like overall Crystal Maiden is just pretty weak right now, so it makes sense to buff her. Freezing Field Radius reduced. Okay, but Scepter delay reduced, so Scepter is slightly less useless. Okay. Level 15 talent is buffed, and the other level 15 talent is nerfed. So, okay. Not sure. Okay, I'm sure there's definitely over a buff to Crystal Maiden. Yeah, definitely think she's stronger now. Okay, what does Garvin say? Whenever he comes out of Skeleton Walk, one is spawned 2, so you can gank someone. As you're done ganking, you can eat the creep to get extra damage. Wait, is that a basic change from the new Skeleton Walk, or is it from Aghanims? I don't see anything about... Oh, it's a talent. Okay, it's a talent. Where's that? Level 10 talent. Okay, that's actually really powerful. That's a really good talent. Oh, okay. Yeah, that seems like a really powerful talent. And even with a slight nerf, I probably would still go for Orchid on Clinks. Like, seems pretty good. And then you don't need the Mana Regen talent here. Should have read the talents. Yeah. We've got to keep moving here. It's already 2:38 here. Have to get to sleep at some point. Okay, Clockwork. Well, no, where we are. We were at Crystal Maiden. We've done Crystal Maiden, so Crystal Maiden buffed, I guess. Darkseer. Darkseer actually buffed? What is this? Fake Ice Frog, definitely. So we get extra 6 agility but lose 1 armor. So this basically means the same armor, but you get slightly more attack speed. Then Vacuum, mana cost reduced. Okay, that's actually very substantial. Like only 60 mana level 1, that's huge. Also, there's 100 damage level 1. And then I'm not sure what this is supposed to mean. Oh, Garvin, thank you for the super chat. My first ever super chat here. Thank you. Darkseer, my boy Darkseer buffed. Okay, so I'm not even sure what that's supposed to mean. It's refined from 60 to 60.0. What is that supposed to mean? Maybe some sort of rounding stuff being changed? Something with floating point weirdness? I don't know. But let's just look at the sensible changes here. Definitely like a huge buff to Vacuum. Especially level 1 Vacuum. So maybe we're going to see people getting a value point on that at some point. But still, it's like a 60-second cooldown, so I don't know if... Like, yes, it's like 100 damage, but you like need 100 damage on a 60-second cooldown. So because the cooldown is so long, even though these are huge buffs, it probably doesn't change too much about Daxia. Okay, wall of replicas, slow duration increased from 0.75 seconds to 1 second. Okay, so that's a nice buff. And then level 10 talent, you get 75 Iron Shell radius. That is actually a much stronger talent. Okay, so it's a meme, says Garvin. Okay. We all know that Ice Frog is a bit of a troll. Level 15 talent changed from 100 Iron Shell radius to Iron Shell provides 400 max health. This actually seems really powerful. So, yeah, like these two talents together seem really strong. Especially since previously level 10 talents for Daxia were a bit underwhelming. So yeah, I can definitely see Daxia now being used more. Of course, the removal of backlaning hurts Daxia a lot. But, you know, with these changes, maybe we can see him played more. And Pinto says he's Theoro crafting position 4 Daxia. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a thing. Dark Willow Cursed Crown radius increased. Okay. Terrorized checks return speed increased by 100. Okay, so it's like some slight buffs. Then level 10 talent changed from plus 10 int to 0.4 Cursed Crown stun duration. Okay, that seems pretty decent. Level 15 talent changed from 30 movement speed to minus 2 second shadow realm cooldown. Okay. So some slight buffs to Dark Willow, nothing too major. Okay, on to Dazzle. Zero still doesn't understand why Daxia, Visage, and Chen are so unpopular. Yeah, I mean, I guess Daxia, the problem with Daxia is just he is a hero that tends to require some coordination. Like this vacuum wall combinations can be really strong in like an organized team, and also just like utilizing the Iron Shells requires some coordination. So it's a bit difficult to pull that off in pubs. That's why we almost always see, you know, Daxia is usually like one of the most popular heroes at TI, but it's not really picked very much in pubs, just because it's about the coordination. And like Chen and Visage, it's just like most people just don't really like these micro heroes. They're a bit intimidated by those heroes, and yeah, that's I think why these heroes just are basically always among the least played. Okay, Dazzle, just talent changes, slightly more mana regen, slight buff here to level 15 talent. Okay, just not changing very much, just some very slight buffs. Of course, Dazzle was hurt a bit by the nerfs to Necro book. But as support, Dazzle, I think, is still going to be very strong. You can go for Medallion, which is very strong right now. So, yeah, I feel like Dazzle core is pretty much dead, but Dazzle 5 or even 4 can definitely still work quite well. Death Prophet, Crypt Swarm cast point reduced, okay. And then also some talent buffs. Not sure if Death Prophet really needed some buffs, but there we are, some slight buffs with her. Disruptor, kinetic field radius increased ever so slightly. Klim's bug with not counting the position of dead heroes as in the fountain has been fixed. Okay. So this is basically a nerf to Glimpse. So, okay. Level 10 talent changed from 20 magic resistance to -2 second kinetic field cooldown. Okay, that's probably better, but I'm not sure. And level 15, -3 seconds kinetic field cooldown to plus 1.5 seconds static storm duration. Okay, so that seems pretty big. Yeah, overall I think this is a bit of a side grade. It's not going to change too much about how Disruptor is played. This is probably the biggest change. It's just kind of like the way they worked previously was kind of dumb, so it makes sense to change that. They're calling it a bug. I'm not sure if it's really accurate to call it a bug. It was more like a consistent interaction with positioning of heroes when they're dead. Because heroes are not actually internally, at least before this patch, they were at the position where they died. Not in the fountain if you're dead. At least that's how the game counted it. So it was completely consistent interaction and not really a bug. But you know, it seems like more intuitive to have it work like this. Okay, Doom again taking literally no damage. The original Doom, of course, that's the original hero with the meme. Base armor increased by 1 and even more attack range. So 200 attack range. Those are some pretty nice buffs. Devour now gives you more gold at lower levels, but less regen. So I'm not sure if this is better or worse. It's like you're getting 30 gold over, what is the cooldown on Devour, like 80 seconds or something like that? So yeah, I'm not sure if this is actually better. Scorched Earth backswing animation time reduced. Okay, slight buff here. And then some talent rearrangement. Okay, so like Doom definitely going to be better here. And also Doom was a hero that wasn't really very good at backlaning anyway, so removing that is also kind of indirect buff to him. So I feel like we're going to see quite a bit of Doom. Also like a hero that is probably really going to like the new drum. Just movement speed is quite strong on Doom, and extra mana regen is always welcome. So yeah, I feel like phase boost drum is really good build on Doom right now. And then just with all the gold that you have coming in, you can just go all the items that your team needs. You can get, you know, Crimson Guards, you can get pipes and so on. Whatever the game requires, you can get Vessel if that's necessary. Then Drow range. I feel like Drow range was already kind of decent, but now she's getting some slight buffs, so last hitting is going to be more consistent. She has slightly more movement speed and again taking literally no damage. Also buff to the level 10 talent. Icewalker saying, please you fucks take this stupid talent. It's 50% level 10 talent. Take this stupid talent now. But I'm still not sure if people are gonna take this over the stats. And then level 15 talent changed from 20 movement speed to -6 second multi-shot cooldown. I think this is pretty strong. This seems like a pretty good talent. Not sure off the top of my head what the other talent is. But yeah, Drow Ranger, I feel like we're going to see more of her in this patch. Earth Spirits, base strength increased by 1, rolling bullet collision radius increased from 150 to 160. Magnetized damage is slightly higher at the start, but slightly lower later on. Actually, no, sorry, it's just, no, it says rescale, but it's just, oh, sorry, I'm just confused here. It is 3 AM in my defense. So it's slightly weaker at level 1, but stronger at level 2 and 3. Okay, Enchant Remnant now allows him to target himself and you kick yourself with Boulder Smash. It's like Earthspirit is like one of those heroes that I just honestly not even entirely sure what all his abilities do. He's a hero that I've literally never played. I think I've tried him out in like a lobby or something once, but I've never actually played a real game of Earthspirit, so I'm not really sure what this is gonna do. Yeah, but definitely seems like buffed. Earthshaker, fissure duration reduced. Oh, it's actually pretty substantial on a 1.5 second reduced. Also gonna make blocking creep wave worse. Okay, maybe someone in chat can explain to me what the implications of the last change are for Earthspirit. So definitely it seems like it's better because it allows you to target yourself. You kick yourself with Boulder Smash. Okay, that seems pretty good. And yeah, I don't think that Earthspirit, he was like okay-ish before. I don't think that he was terrible, so these like combined together, these seem like pretty substantial buffs. So Earthspirit may be one of the new meta position 4s. Okay, Earthshaker, okay, Fissure is slightly worse at the start. Enchanted and Backswing, time reduced. Okay, but it's only backswing, so it's not too important. Level 10 talent changed from 25 damage to 20 base damage. It's base damage, so it's better with Enchant Totem. So this might even be a buff. In fact, I would say this is a buff, yeah. So a very slight buff, another very slight buff, and a nerf here. So Earthshaker slightly worse on overall, I would say. Elder Titan base strength increased by 2. Fixed Echo stop playing the full channel animation if it was cancelled during the cast point. Okay. Astral Spirit return speed increased. No longer refreshes the current buff from new spirit is cast and returns before the previous buff expires. Okay, so definitely say buff to Elder Titan on the whole. I have to go through this a bit quicker here, especially for the heroes that I'm not really interested in too much anyway. Ember Spirit, Flame Guard, damage per second reduced. That makes sense, but it's a very slight nerf to a very popular hero, so Ember Spirit being treated with kid gloves here. It's kind of weird, like Ember Spirit is a hero that's been in the meta like forever. And it's kind of confusing to me why it's not getting nerfed a bit more here. Okay, Garvin says strength change is nice, Boulder Collision makes initiations easier and allows for larger margin of error. Magnetize change is very nice, even if early game is only mildly weaker. Yeah, okay, I'm going to trust you on that. Seems about right. Okay, now we're getting to some interesting heroes. Enchantress gets more int, 0.2 int, pretty minor buff. Turn rate improved. This is actually quite important for Enchantress because you would have chucked those spears and then run away. So turn rate is quite a big deal, even though it's only a slight change here. And Scepter now provides 150 attack range. So I'm not sure off the top of my head what the old Scepter provided. I think it was like 250 or something like that. So now it gives you most of that, plus also the Sproink ability. And I've just gotta say, I just love the pure fact that Enchantress has an ability called Sproink now. That has always amused me. So now I feel like Scepter is now going to be really strong if you're playing core Enchantress. As support Enchantress, you probably can't afford this, but if I'm not sure if often Enchantress is really in the cards, but you're really going to be able to Sproink people good with that Scepter. Nature's Attendant's heal interval changed. Okay, it just heals more often. I will assume that the overall heal rate is the same, so it doesn't change too much. And level 10 talent from 50 movement speed to 20. So definitely some nice buffs to Enchantress. And I feel like she was already okay. And now she's getting buffed, so I feel like this is great. And these buffs are especially for offlane Enchantress, for core Enchantress. I'm not sure if this is enough to push core Enchantress over the top, but also just like the fact that you now can no longer backlane, so it's more important to pick strong laners in the offlane. This is going to make like Enchantress more attractive. Yeah, so I definitely can see a return of offlane Enchantress being in the cards. And also for support, Enchantress it's a slight buff. So yeah, I think definitely Enchantress is a hero to watch out for in this new patch. Then we get to Enigma. Malefice damage rescaled. You do a bit more damage at the start, but slightly less at level 4. Okay, bit of a side grade. Level 10 talent now has +4 Midnight Pulse duration. Like this talent was extremely weak, so this has got to be better. And then here, instead of 150 Eidolon attack range, you get 135 Eidolon health, which is probably much better. We're definitely level 10 Enigmas, getting much better talents. Level 15, also above level 25 talent gets nerfed. So, I mean, it's level 25 talent. These are always never very important to balance. So, yeah, it seems like a buff to Enigma. Also, with the changes to Dominator and to Necro, you probably no longer want to buy those items. So now Midas is back in the cards and Midas has been buffed, so that's also good for Enigma. What is chat saying? Enchant Remnant change is insane for chase downs and sends you 2k units at fast speed with a bonus slow is helpful. Yeah, that's... I feel like the Aghanims is just really strong right now. It's maybe that alone is enough to make core Enchantress viable. And just generally, when they've combined like these two abilities in an Aghanims, that's always very powerful. Like remember back in, when was that, like 686 or whenever that was, when Chen got that new Aghanims that allowed him to take over ancient creeps, and also still had the old Aghanims that reduced his ultimate cooldown to like 30 seconds. That was just so broken for the brief period that it lasted. So if you combine like two Aghanims, like two reasonable Aghanims into one, it's just usually broken. So yeah, that Sproik Enchantress is going to be really strong, I feel like. Like the more I talk about this, the more I think that Enchantress is just going to be a top tier offlaner in this new patch. But okay, Enigma, a bit stronger in this new patch. But of course, Enigma was also nerfed a lot by 727. Like that Necro book build was so nice. Okay, Faceless Void. The Aghanims get slightly better, whatever. Level 15 talent changed from -1.2 time walk cooldown to 275 time walk cast range. That seems like it's quite good. Like this is starting to get into sort of initiation range. And then level 20 talent. Okay, so they just switched. They just switched around the 15 and 20 talents. Okay. Yeah, this is not going to change very much. Grimstroke, slightly more attack range, makes it a bit easier to harass in lane. Okay. Level 10 talent is now 100 cast range instead of 20 movement speed. That's a buff. Okay, but they removed the level 15 cast range and it's now plus 20% ink swell movement speed. Okay, that's actually interesting. Okay, and level 20 talent is buffed, so some slight buffs to Grimstroke. I feel like he was pretty weak, so it makes sense to give him some buffs. Gyrocopter, another hero that was pretty weak, now gets an extra 2 int. Homing missile launch time reduced, so 2 slight buffs here. Flak cannon cooldown reduced, and amount of talent buffs. Okay, I have to see whether Gyrocopter is good enough with these buffs. Huska also hero that like Gyrocopter wasn't terrible. Huska was genuinely terrible, like one of the worst heroes in Dota. Now we get some buffs. I don't think this is going to be enough, but we'll have to see. 2 base damage, that's pretty big deal because Huska has such low base damage. Some more agility, okay. It's not going to change too much. Knockdown is reduced. This might even be a buff. It's it was kind of awkward, like how far you knock people back. Sometimes that's good, of course, when you want to escape, but usually as Huska, you want to go onto people and not knock them away. So this isn't necessarily a nerf. Life Break no longer deals damage to Roshan. Honestly, it was kind of stupid that it did. So that's a nerf, but also a very sensible one. And then level 25 talent increased from 150 attack range to 175. Yeah, no one is ever going to take that over the pure damage. Okay, so some slight buffs to Huska, but not enough, I think. He's still, I think, going to be an incredibly niche hero. Invoker, another hero that was very underpowered, now gets 2 base damage, Forge Spirit, base attack time increase or improved, so they attack faster, and they no longer need mana to cast or to use their Melt Strike or Melting Strike. Okay. Invoke no longer triggers spell elements like Magic Stick, makes sense because it doesn't use mana. And level 10 talent changed from 50 Chaos Meteor damage, contact damage to plus 30% Chaos Meteor damage. I'm not sure if this is better or worse, but it definitely, like from a design perspective, it's better to just have this as a percentage here. Makes a lot more sense. Because it's just more transparent what this does. Yeah, so a bunch of buffs to Invoker. I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough, but yeah, someone is saying here Quaswex Invoker. Oh, sorry, someone's saying, yeah, what? Quas Exort Invoker? What? Yeah, it feels like, yeah, I don't know, Quas Exort Invoker. Yeah, I mean, the Forge Spirit is going to be better, but yeah, but like the space damage is more of a buff to Quaswex, so like both are going to be buffed here. Yeah, I still feel like overall the Quaswex is going to be better most of the time, but yeah, with Forge Spirit now being a bit stronger here, maybe see more of a return of Quas Exort. Okay. IO base movement speed increased from 280 to 320. I can't imagine a hero on which this is going to be less impactful, but it's still 40 movement speed. Most of the time you're going to be tethered to someone anyway, so it doesn't matter, but like 40 movement speed is such a huge buff. That's basically getting boots for free, almost. So yeah, that's, even though, like, if put the 40 movement speed buff on any other hero, then hero is going to be completely broken. But on IO, it's not probably enough to break him. Yeah, but this is going to make it a lot easier to do things like warding, stacking, and it's going to make you less of like a hero attachment and more of an independent hero. Chihiro, dual breath mana cost increased very slightly. Ice Path, mana cost increase. I don't know, was Chihiro too strong? I'm not sure, he felt kind of balanced to me. But okay, gets slight nerfs. And level 10 talents improved. And level 15 talent also. Probably that's better, but I'm not sure. Yeah, Chihiro is slightly nerfed overall. Juggernaut. Omnislash now provides plus 40 attack speed, but the attack speed multiplier is reduced, so you have more attack speed in Omnislash at the start, but less like in the very late game. And then level 15 talent, Blade Fury movement speed is slightly stronger now, and Blade Fury DPS also stronger. These were very underpicked talents, so now they're better. So like overall slight buff to Juggernaut. Then we have Coddle of the Lights, Illuminate, channel duration reduced, but total damage unchanged, so that's a buff. But Will-O-Wisp Flicker no longer drops your orders between each cycle. So that's a huge quality of life improvement for everyone playing against Coddle, and of course a slight nerf to Coddle. And then level 20 talent changed, instead of tracker magic damage, instead of extra mana, you get less cooldown. So I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'm guessing this means it's less efficient at replenishing mana, but more efficient at reducing cooldowns. So at level 20, that's probably stronger, but I'm not sure. I would have to look at the numbers more closely. So a bit of a side bet for Coddle. Kunkka gets a slight buff to level 25 talent. Okay, I'm not sure why, but I guess. Legion Commander, base strength reduced by 1 and dual attack bonus increased. Yeah, I mean, this dual damage is usually not that relevant. Like, it's nice to have these big numbers, but they don't really do that much typically. So I'm not even sure if this buff makes up for this nerf. Let's look at their talents. Level 15 from minus 4 second overwhelming arts cooldown to minus 6, so that's pretty good. And 25 now gets a 400 AoE, press the attack, and this other talent is reduced, so that is a pretty big buff. I feel like this bonus damage talent is quite overrated. Like, quite often, even with the old one, it's quite often better to take this one. And now I think it's usually going to be better to take this AoE press the attack talent. It's like, just imagine playing against a Magnus, and you can just completely nullify his entire ultimate with this. Yeah, so overall I think this is a slight buff to Legion. Okay, Leshrac. Base damage increased by 3. They're buffing Lesh. What is this? Less range, okay. And more strength gain? What is going on? I felt like Leshrac was already quite strong with the item changes. Pulse Nova Scepter, Lightning Storm Interval improved. So a bunch of buffs to Leshrac. Okay, I'm not sure why, but I guess they're really overbuffing the hero right now. Yeah, I feel like Lesh is going to be really strong. Okay, Lich. Level 10 talent is now 60 Frost Nova AoE damage, and the other one is 100 cast range. Both of these are quite strong, whereas previously both of these were kind of meh. But you're losing the level 20 cast range talent, but plus 100 chain frost damage is actually pretty big. It's level 20, so it comes quite late, but still, like, Chain Frost has so much damage. An extra 100 damage is a lot. And the other one is now plus 4-second Frost Shield duration. And combine this with this one, that's going to be very powerful. Okay. Lifestealer. Minimum base damage increased from 42 to 46. So extra 4 damage on average. And also reduces the spread, so it's more consistent for last hitting. Okay, that's a pretty big buff for the laning stage. Level 10 talents, both are buffed. And I feel like both these talents are very reasonable, so that's pretty good. And the level 20 talent changed from 40% open wounds lifesteal to minus 4-second open wounds cooldown. Okay. Okay. I feel like this is even better. So lifesteal is definitely getting some nice buffs. Also, like lifestealer, possibly back to Midas Radiance with the Midas buffs. Not sure, but it's a possibility. Okay, Lina, Laguna Blade, damage increased. Okay. 50 damage. Especially level 1, this is going to be a big deal. Dragon Slave backswing animation time reduced. Okay, makes it a bit easier to play this hero. It's a bit smoother. But not like a big implication, because like backswing is always not relevant if you do proper animation cancelling. But just makes it a bit easier to play. Level 20 talents increased. Okay, so a bit more, what is that, attack speed? MKB Maelstrom Lina is broken, says 0. Maybe. You can have slightly more attack speed at level 20. Yeah. Lina has always been a strong laner, so she's always got that going for her. And yeah, Decoy Bender loves my content and thanks him for my content. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Yeah, Lina. She was kind of on the sidelines, not really picked very much. Not sure it's going to put her over the edge, but I feel like she has a place in this new patch with these buffs. Lion, base attack speed increased, so 15 extra attack speed for Lion, and base armor increased by 1. Unpack the meme, boys. Once again, literally unkillable, literally taking no damage, and like this is gonna make Lion a lot better just in the laning stage. He's gonna be able to trade a lot better. That was really the weakness of Lion. He's really strong later on, but laning stage is kind of underwhelming because he just can't really trade with anyone. But now with extra armor, with extra attack speed, and like Impale is always quite good because it's just so mana efficient. So now I can trade people better, and yeah, I feel like Lion he was like one of the weakest supports previously, and now maybe he's back because these are pretty substantial buffs to him. And just really addresses his biggest weakness, which is the laning stage. GGM, hello there, friend. Yeah, my voice. Yeah. Okay. Let's see how long my voice still holds out, because we're only at halfway point here. I think I have to speed up a little bit. We're already going over 1 hour here. Okay, now here's the main course. Lone Druid. Cover your eyes, boys. This is going to be painful. Strength gain reduced by 0.2. Okay, that's pretty minor. I can live with that. Savage Roar back to no longer duplicating. So if you Savage Roar with a hero, it's only gonna gonna cast around the hero, and same for if you cast it on the bear. That's a pretty significant nerf, but I can definitely get on board with this, because like the old Savage was a bit dumb. It was just a bit too strong and just a bit too easy to use, and you can just like spam this out in team fights and just create so much disruption. And now you have to be a bit more conscientious about using that, and also just it's less good at dealing with people jumping you. So that definitely hurts. Summon Spirit Bear damage per level is now base damage rather than bonus damage. So this is actually a nice buff. Makes certain items and bonuses a lot stronger. So if you have like a Vlad in your team, that's now gonna give you more. And also notably makes double damage a lot stronger. So previously double damage gave you precisely 20 damage, which is rather insulting. And now it's actually going to give you a good chunk of damage. Summon Spirit Bear backlash damage increased. Now if your bear dies, you lose 20% instead of 10%. Okay, it's not the biggest deal. And Entangling Gloss no longer has a special duration for creeps. So it's also like a slight nerf, but not like a huge deal. Of course, makes you a bit weaker at dealing with these Sui heroes. Yeah. Okay. True form, more nerfs here. Losing 2 armor at level 1 and 8 armor at level 3. That's also definitely going to hurt. And level 25 talent is nerfed once again. I mean, this used to be like, what was it, like 0.4 or something at one point, and now it's 0.1. Yeah, but I probably feel like you still have to take this because the other one is so garbage. Yeah, so in some, these nerfs definitely hurt you a lot. But I mean, to be fair, Lone Druid was one of the strongest heroes in the game. So it makes sense to get some nerfs. And also we have like this is a buff. So it's not all bleak, but definitely Lone Druid goes down in power level. But I feel like this is not one of these patches that just kills the hero with nerfs. Like what was that patch in 703 or something like that, that just completely massacred Lone Druid and just made him completely unplayable. This is not one of these patches. This is a bunch of nerfs, but I feel like this hero is still going to have a role to play. Okay. But yeah, it's like more, he moves from like ST or AT hero to more like a BT hero, probably, would be my guess. But since, he's my most played hero, he's probably my strongest hero right now. So I'm still going to play him, still going to see whether he's still good. So I'm guessing it's like slightly below average now. Okay, Luna. Base damage increased by 3. Lunar Blessing rescaled from 15, 20, 25, 30 to 10, 18, 26, 34. So, and also no longer increases armor, so it's only damage now. So definitely its ability quite a bit weaker in total. Zero asked about Midas and Lone Druids. Possibly, because I mean the attack speed is quite nice on him, but I still feel like this Mask of Madness is too strong. You just still want to have Mask of Madness. So I don't really see Midas being a thing now. And like Midas was really more like the only time you really meant for Midas was if you went for Radiance, and Radiance Bear's no longer really that strong. So I don't see a return of Midas on Lone Druid. Possibly, but I think not. So Luna, so more base damage, but your Lunar Blessing is weaker at the start, so this kind of evens out, I guess. but yeah, like, and this is going to give you more of an incentive to get Lucent Beam level 1. And like these changes basically kill support Luna. But core Luna is going to be stronger now because of these changes to Moonglaves. So the bounce count is changed from 1, 2, 3, 6 to 3, 4, 5, 6. But now the damage reduction scales. So it starts at 52 and then moves down to 34. When I was looking through this patch previously, I did the math on that, and I think it's now like, if I remember correctly, like something like 82% damage or 86% damage, something like that, on the one that you get as bonus damage if it bounces. Whereas previously was 65%, so that's a pretty big buff to Glaives level 1, and then Glaives level 4 are going to be slightly stronger because you get just 1 percentage point less reduction. And since you have 6 Glaives, that really adds up. So yeah, Glaives are now substantially stronger. So this moves Luna more into a hard carry position and less as this sort of utility core where you like buy an Aghanims and you start out with a Dominator and then go into Aghanims and play more of a utility core. I think that playstyle is dead. I think Luna is back to just being a hard carry and it's going to be able to farm faster with this. Maybe you're even back to going for Mask of Madness, just farming item. Yeah, Luna I think is going to be like in that position 1 role, she's going to be stronger, but it's going to be less flexible. So yeah, I feel like overall, at least for that position 1 role, it's definitely a buff. Magnus, Empower damage rescaled, starts at 10, ends at 20 in the old patch, and now it's 11 to 32. So just like a straight buff. Why did they say rescale versus a straight buff? They're not really consistent in how they're using language here. But okay, let's move on. Shockwave slow increased, Skewer cooldown reduced, and radius increased. A whole bunch of buffs to Magnus. He was really underpicked hero, so they're buffing him, makes sense. Also, like an interesting thing to note is interaction with Lone Druid. With the old Lone Druid, when you had this Savage Roar affecting both units, Lone Druid was like the ultimate counter to Magnus, because as long as you don't get both the hero and your bear caught in the ultimate in RP, you can always just completely nullify an RP. But now that's no longer going to be the case, because if your bear stunned, for example, you can't roar with your bear. You'd have to run in with you and then roar, which is going to be a bit more risky. But there's side notes here. Definitely Magnus is going to be a bit stronger. Actually a lot stronger, just the combination of all these buffs. Okay, what is chat saying? Okay, I already read all of that. Okay, let's move on to Mars. Mars gets 3 int, and Arena of Blood is formed slightly faster. That's definitely kind of a big deal, because it was a long time before that actually went up, and oftentimes people would just be able to run out of it when they were sort of on the edge, and now that's going to be a lot harder for them to do. Level 10 talent increased from -2 seconds speed cooldown to -3 seconds. So a bunch of buffs to Mars. Individually, all these buffs are kind of minor, but together definitely going to make the hero better. And I feel like Mars was already in a reasonable spot. So I feel like this hero is going to be quite good. Also, it's a hero that can make quite good use of the new Vlads. Medusa, base strength increased by 2, base int by 4, so Medusa going to be a lot more tanky. Split shot, now primary arrow has the same damage reduction as the secondary arrows and now can be toggled, so once again we're kind of moving back in time. The extra arrow count is increased by 1 and you get extra bonus range on those, and the shot damage is increased, so it's now 50% at level 1 and 80% at level 4. So level 1 split shot, you go from firing 1 arrow with 100% damage to 5 arrows with 50% damage, so definitely already really good for farming. But yeah, I'm not sure if this is a buff or a nerf. I would say probably a buff, because it just makes farming a lot smoother. But for fighting, it's maybe a bit of a nerf because the primary targets can take less damage. And then Mystic Snake cast point reduced. That's also always a big deal, reducing these cast points. And then cooldown also reduced. So all that combined is going to make Medusa a lot stronger. And it was already kind of buffed by the fact that the patch just slowed down the game a bit. So yeah, I think Medusa is very strong right now. Also, stacking was buffed, so if you support stack for you, they get more out of that, and of course Medusa is one of the best heroes that's clearing stacks, and now it's going to be even better because she has more split shot targets and more damage. So yeah, I think Medusa is definitely here to watch out for in this new patch. Marana. Sorry about that. Moonlight Shadow movement speed reduced from 15% to 9, 12, 15. Okay. Second arrow cooldown increased. Leap distance increased. So 2 nerfs, 1 buff, and another buff. So a bit of a side grade. So this makes support Marana a bit weaker, but I guess core Marana is going to be a bit stronger because that's like one of the powerful core Marana talents. So I don't know. I feel like Marana was a pretty fair hero, not too weak, not too strong. So whatever. Monkey King, of course, was nerfed quite substantially by the fact that Echo Saber no longer works on your soldiers, but now he gets base armor increased by 3. So, you know, taking literally no damage times 3, that's just insane. Like, that's so much armor. Like when Monkey King first came out, he was so broken because you just couldn't trade with him because he had so much armor. And then they severely nerfed his base armor, and now they're sort of giving him that armor back. So that's going to be a huge deal. But they're also nerfing Jingo Mastery damage. So it's 60, 90. So it goes from 60 to 40 at level 1 and from 150 to 130. So particularly level 1 is going to be a lot weaker. Also, it's like the hit tracker duration is reduced. So, you know, only 7 seconds between hits before it resets. So it's going to make... this is basically going to make laning against Monkey King easier if you're a melee hero or short-range hero, but harder if you're a ranged hero. So Monkey King is going to be like it's going to feel a bit more fast. So this basically makes his good matchups a bit less good, but his bad matchups less bad. So that overall seems like a good change. Then Wukong's command attack interval improved, so bit of a buff here that sort of compensates for the loss of the Echo Saber. And then level 10 talent, slightly better. The other one also slightly better. Yeah, so definitely overall a buff to Monkey King. And yeah, but of course that compensates for the for the loss of the Echo Saber on the ultimate. Okay, Naga Siren is one of those heroes whose win rate sort of declined with 727, and I'm not quite sure why. Like, okay, Wraith Bands are worse on her now, but like the game slowing down should be good for Naga, so I'm not really sure why her win rate is decreased, but now she's getting a nice buff. 10 moves is always a big deal. And snare cast point is reduced. Like, that has such a long cast point, and it's a great improvement to reduce it at least a little bit here. And then Song of the Silent Scepter reduces cooldown by 20 seconds. Not particularly relevant, but of course Naga Siren, you're often going to be like 8 slotted with, you know, the consumed Moonshard and the consumed Scepter, so in those games it's going to make a difference. Okay, good night, Zero. Can watch the rest on the VOD tomorrow. So 4:30 a.m. So, what time zone is that? So you're in like in Eastern Europe. Is that the time zone? Yeah. Okay. So everyone say good night, Zero. So Naga Siren definitely going to be quite a bit stronger with this. Nature's Prophet. Hello, what is Dikanada Triata? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, probably not. But hello. Nature's Prophet base armor reduced by 2. Taking literally a lot of damage. This is a pretty big deal. He's a ranged hero, so not as big of a deal as for a melee hero, but still, 2 armor is a lot. Then Nature's Call Treant's gold XP bounty reduced. So this is also a huge deal. So reducing the gold by 50% and the XP bounty by 40%, that is huge. Now you just no longer have to worry about feeding Treants. It just doesn't matter anymore. This is so little gold and experience. This also makes the Aghanim stronger. I'm still not sure if Aghanims is worth it, but maybe now we can see Aghanim's profit. Level 10 talent reduced damage here, but the other 10 talent is improved. So previously, like, you would always go for this damage talent, even if you were a support prophet. This was just not enough. But now maybe this is good enough. Maybe people are going to go for this. We have to wait and see. Level 15 talent changed from 8 armor to 25 attack speed. And okay, so they're switching around the attack speed and the armor. And overall he's losing a little bit here. So prophets is on the whole definitely nerfed. This is pretty big buff, but this is an even bigger nerf. So I feel like Nature's Prophet, he was very strong and very flexible. He's one of those heroes that's like good and competitive, and therefore is typically weak in pubs. It's also like one of these deceptive heroes, because he's actually one of the hardest heroes in the game to play. But with a lot of other hard heroes, sort of the game punishes you really hard and really obviously if you suck at a hero like Meepo. Like, if you miss Margaret as Meepo, you just it's just really obvious. If you suck at Meepo, you just have 0 impact and you just lose every game. As Nature's Prophet, it's kind of less obvious when you're like feeding too many treants or like you're dying too often with split pushing and so on. It's very easy to sort of have an attitude of, I'm helping my team, and the reason we're losing is because my teammates are playing worse. And oftentimes you're sort of taking away your team's farm with the ultimate and so on, and then your team is naturally going to have less farm. It's sort of oftentimes, even when you're playing Nature's Prophet really poorly, it still feels like you're having decent impact. So that's probably why it's always going to have a low win rate in lower tiers. but in competitive play, his profit was extremely strong, so it makes sense that they're nerfing him a little bit here. Okay, Necro, level 25 talent. Okay, like who cares? It's level 25 talent. Night Stalker, level 10 talent changed from 150 mana to 45 void damage. Yon coach Bulldog to become the best prophet back in the day, no kappa. Yes, that's definitely my origin story. No, okay, Night Stalker. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's better. I'm not sure. It's at least it's more interesting. So from a design perspective, definitely something I like. Not sure what the balance here. Nyx Assassin. Nyx, very underpicked hero. Probably getting buffed here. Impale damage increased. 20 across the board. And level 10 talent increased. 6% spell and to 8%. Okay. I feel like this is probably not good enough. I feel like this hero is probably still going to be niche. Ogre Magi agility gain reduced. 1.9 to 1.5. Okay. And unrefined Fire Blast mana cost from 60% to 45. Okay, so Aghanims a lot better. Its agility honestly doesn't really matter too much. Like agility gain on a non-agility support hero, like who cares about that? But a very important buff to Ogre is Midas is getting buffed. 100 gold reduction on Midas, that's a pretty big deal. So yeah, I feel like on the whole, Ogre Magi might be better than before, despite this nerf. Maybe also a buff to Core Ogre. I'm not sure if Core Ogre is good enough. But yeah, I feel like Ogre is going to be strong in this patch. And with all the buffs to Midas, I can still see myself buying the item even as a 5. Especially since the game has slowed down a bit. Okay. Omni Knight. Base movement speed increased from 300 to 305. Okay, that's a nice little buff. Extra cast range purification. Actually, that's a big deal. 150 cast range, that's a lot. Legion Aura no longer reduces the attack speed. Oh, it did? I didn't know that. But okay, back to normal things that I'm familiar with as an old Dota 1 player. Legion Aura radius increased. Okay. So that's pretty good. And level 20 talent increased. Okay. Instead of 3 mana region, now we get -3 second Heavenly Grace cooldown. Not sure what the current cooldown is on that. Okay, here -6.5 second Heavenly Grace cooldown is removed, and now we get -6 second Guardian Angel cooldown. Oh, actually, that's a pretty big deal. That is a pretty big deal. Yeah, that seems really strong, especially if you go for Aghanims. There's definitely some nice buffs to Omni. Not sure if it's good enough, but we'll have to see. Oracle, Purifying Flames cast point reduced. Okay, that's a pretty big deal. Level 15 talent increased. Okay, level 25 talent changed. Okay, like slight buff to Oracle. OD was a very low win red hero, so it's probably getting buffed. Essence Flux low duration increased from 1.75 to 2. And active duration increased from 6 to 8. So yeah, that's a nice buff. Arcane Orb mana cost reduced from 110 to 80 at the start. Okay, that is a pretty big deal. Now I might actually be able to afford this ability. Astral Imprisonment now is in the cast area indicator that shows damage area. Okay, nice quality of life change. Cast range increased. Got a bit in the start. Okay, these are some really nice buffs. Some really nice buffs here. Marine Guy asks, Arc Warden minus always now? I'm not sure about always, but I think it's definitely a strong item on Arc Warden now, and at least an item you should strongly consider buying. Okay, PA 3 base damage, that's always a big deal. Plus up the cooldown reduced from 12 to 10. Okay, didn't even know that the Scepter reduced the blur cooldown. Okay, talents. 12 damage to minus 1 second stifling dagger cooldown. This could potentially be quite good. Changed from 25% cleave to 350 phantom strike cast range. Ooh, that's actually pretty good. So if you want to go for Battle Fury anyway, which is a strong farming build in this patch because Battle Fury is so cheap, then you're not really worried about the cleave, but like this is pretty strong talent. And then here 30% blur evasion to 35%. Also notably there's like two relevant item changes for Phantom Assassin recently. There's the nerfs to MKB, which helps PA, but there's also the sort of conditional buffs to what is it called, Silver Edge, which on certain heroes is really good right now. And of course that item is so strong as PA, at least as long as you don't have BKB. So yeah, like I felt like PA was a very underwhelming hero previously, and he does some pretty good buffs here. Especially like this base damage. This other stuff is not that relevant, but like this is always relevant. This makes laning a lot easier, and it's just more damage throughout the entire game. Phantom Lancer, attack damage, spread reduced, so easier to last hit. Wow, the spread was this big? 48 to 70, that's crazy. Now it's still pretty big, but a bit more manageable. Spirit Lance damage increased at higher levels. Okay, that's not too big of a deal. Level 15 talent from 100 Spirit Lance damage to minus 1 second Spirit Lance cooldown. That's probably better. And then here, plus 5 max juxtapose illusions to plus 4% juxtapose illusion damage. I feel like that's probably better, but I'm honestly not sure. So yeah, on the whole, a bunch of buffs, but nothing too major. Feel like before this patch, Phantom Lancer was quite weak. Now he's probably average, maybe slightly above average. Phoenix Fire Spirit's mana cost increased from 80, 90, 100 to 110 to 120. Okay, so that seems like a reasonable nerf. Like the Phoenix was quite annoying. Supernova hit count rescaled from 5, 8, 11 to 6, 8, 10. This makes sense to me. Like level 1 Supernova always felt like it's a bit too easy to kill it, but level 3 a bit too hard, so this seems like a good balance change. Well, not so much a balance change, but more of a slight grade, more of a design change. Dumpster that stupid bird. Yeah. Hopefully, yes. Just really annoying to play against as Lone Druid. Level 10 talent increased from plus 14% Icarus dive slow to plus 18%. Okay, and level 15 talent also buffed a bit. But in the whole, Felix is definitely a nerf to Phoenix. I'm not gonna say it's dumpstered, but slightly worse. Okay. Puck, just some balance changes. Dream Coil rapid fire attack interval improved, so this gets slightly better. And okay, the other level 25 talent gets slightly worse. Okay, that makes sense. Slight side grade, nothing too much for terms of balance changes. And then we get to Putka. My favorite hero to play against, least favorite hero to play with. I'd probably rather play with the techies than with a Pudge in the old patch, but this is going to be a bit of a new patch here. It has more health regen, which is going to improve his laning by a lot. Less strength gain, so it's weaker in the late game, but like these two combined, I think actually a pretty big buff. Because like the problem with Pudge is that he's so utterly useless in lane. It's like even if you hit those hooks, like there's no follow-up. You don't have any slow with rot, so Pudge just feels like really bad. But now with 2 health regen, you can trade better. Now we just need to get those low MR Pudges to do something besides sit in trees. Now you can actually walk up to people and trade with them. Meter cooldown reduced, so that is also a pretty big buff. Like 27 seconds, a little more is so much. Now it's a bit more manageable. And rot slow is also stronger level 1. Like 11% slow is just so little, it's less than Overvenom. Now it's 14%, it's a bit more reasonable. Flash Heap strength gain increased, okay. So slightly less scaling naturally, but more scaling here. Level 10 talent, slightly stronger. So overall, just a pretty big buff to Punch. Is that going to make Punch good? I don't know, maybe. We'll have to see, but at least I know I'm no longer going to groan when people pick Punch. Quap of Pain. Also known as Queen of Crop. Strength gain reduced from 2.3 to 2.2. This feels like an insultingly small nerf. Shadow Strike mana cost increased at higher levels, okay. And initial damage reduced slightly. I don't know what they're doing here. Queen of Pain is so strong. Why do they give us these very slight nerfs? Like this hero is good enough to be played as a 5. You can play her as a carry. She's just so flexible. You can play her in literally every position, and she's strong in every position. Why is she getting these small nerfs here? But okay, at least it's getting nerfed. That's something. Razor gets a pretty big overhaul here. Strength gain increased, agility gain increased. So these attribute gain changes are always not that big of a deal. Like if you get to level 11, that's like 2 strength and 2 agility. That's not the biggest deal. Okay, Plasma Field cooldown reduced from 14 to 13, 12, 11, 10. So going to be able to spam it out more. And then Static Link no longer disarms you, nor does invisible attacks for the link, but instead just allows you to attack while moving, so it's like Wind Ranger. And will by default attack the target linked, but allows you to attack a different target. So what this means is that you can now stop attacking a particular target if they're using Blade Mail. Also sometimes you just want to attack someone else. So that's a buff. I believe with the old Static Link, it would not draw aggro. So that would be a bit of a nerf. So we can no longer dive towers and so on as easily. But yeah, feel like this is overall a buff. Storm Surge no longer gives the aura, but now gives you slightly more movement speed. Then Eye of the Storm no longer has the passive component, so that's a big nerf. Definitely going to hurt your farming. But the active is substantially stronger now. So it's a bunch of buffs, but this is a pretty big nerf. And this means you're going to have a lot less farm on Razor. So I'm not sure. He's going to be a bit more, it's going to be a stronger laner. Before level 6, definitely going to be stronger. But yeah, I'm not sure. I would just have to see how much the loss of that passive damage hurts you. Hard to say. Rubik gets extra attack speed and has more consistent damage. I think that's a nice change that they're implementing a lot of heroes just to reduce the spread. So slight buffs here to his trading potential, just right clicking. Okay. Fate Ball, damage reduction, change from fixed value for heroes increases to percentage based. Thank you. This was like this fixed value just was really playing havoc with certain heroes that rely on creeps. It's really broken against Visage, but now it's just percentage based, so it's no longer nearly as good against Visage. But damage increased slightly. So okay, so level 1 is increased by a lot, but level 4 is only by 5. So and the mana cost also reduced at level 1. So level 1 Fate Ball is going to be super strong now. Interesting. But I guess like this is going to be a lot weaker at the start. The base damage component, but like the damage component is going to be stronger and it's just going to cost less mana. So I feel like Rubik is now going to be even stronger in laning. Level 10 talent is now 50 base damage. Okay, it's even better. And level 15 talent changed from 80 Fate Bolt hero attack to Fate Bolt still 0 damage. Okay, do you really want that? Maybe if you're playing core Rubik? I don't know. So yeah, Rubik gonna be better here. Sand King, Caustic Finale has been reworked. Attacking an enemy now places a debuff that slows the enemy by 10 to 25 movement speed for 5 seconds. The target dies during the 5-second debuff. An explosion deals 70, scaling to 130 plus 10 to 25% of the target's max health in a 500 AoE. So it's still pretty similar to the old one, but now it's just based on the target's max health as well. Okay, so there's like so it's actually now dealing a reasonable amount of damage if you kill a hero. It's like 22% of that hero's health pool is potentially a lot of damage. And also, like, I'm not sure what the old AoE was, but I feel like it was less than 500. I'm not sure on that though. Maybe someone in chat can correct me. Okay, and a whole bunch of talent changes. Whatever, I'm not going to read those. Shadow Demon, level 10 talent increased from 12 into 15. Okay. Very slight buff. Shadow Fiend is a bit more interesting. Yeah, GGM says my familiars won't be totally disabled anymore from Fate Balls. You and me both, brother. You and me both. Okay. Okay. My brain is starting to get fried. I'm already streaming for 2 hours. He said I wasn't going to do the purge thing, but we're not at 9 hours yet. But I really want it to be done in like an hour and a half or something like that. But looks like it's going to be like 2.5 to 3 hours. Oh my god. Gah. Okay, Shadow Fiend. Base damage increased by 4. That's huge for Shadow Fiend. But Necromastery is going to be a lot worse than level 1. Now it does 1 damage per soul. It's getting to 4. So at level 1, if you have full souls, you only get 11 damage. And however, at level 4, you get with full souls 80 damage. So weaker at level 1, but stronger at level 4. Also, like easier to acquire full souls. Because like 36 souls, that took a while once you die to actually regain those. But now it's only 20, so if you die, you only have to regain 10. But on the other hand, Necromancy no longer grants an extra amount for hero kills, so you only get 1 for a hero kill. Yep, Yon does need some sleep. But let's just put through here. Requiem of Souls now releases a wave per 1 soul instead of per 2 souls, so that's going to be slightly better. And the twin talent from 2 damage per soul to 3, that's going to be slightly worse. Because like the old one gave you 72 damage and the new one gives you 60 damage. So basically Shadow Fiend, you're going to have a lot easier time level 1. You definitely don't want Necromastery level 1, you definitely want your raises. That was already usually the case before, but now it's always going to be the case. And the Necromastery is just not going to be as strong, but you want to still level it up because it scales so well now. So Shadow Fiend, if you're level like 5 or something, you're going to be a bit weaker because you have less damage from Necromastery. But the side is easier because of the base damage. And once you're maxed out on the Necromastery, you're going to have a bit extra damage and it's just going to be easier to play. So definitely on the whole above the Shadow Fiend. Okay, moving on, Shadow Shaman, more base int but same base damage, so more mana to play with. Master of Inwards bounty spread reduced. I don't know why they do this, but okay. Doesn't really change anything. And then better talents. So some moderate buffs to Shadow Shaman, nothing too big. Silencer, Arcane Curse damage increased. At high levels, okay, it's slight buff. Global Silence cooldown reduced, that is pretty big. Level 3, it's only 100 seconds now. That's pretty major. And you're usually probably playing Silencer as a 5. He's basically like a walking ultimate, and this is a pretty big reduction in cooldown. Also talents getting a bit stronger. Now 30% cooldown reduction. So this is actually, 70-second global silence cooldown. That's a pretty big deal. This means it's going to be up in basically every fight. If you get to level 25, that is, of course. Also, if you're playing Core Silencer, maybe Midas. Maybe you can go Midas. Yeah. I still don't think that Core Silence is going to be too good. He's obviously strong in the laning phase. But like once you're behind, Silencer is just complete ass. And he's just so weak to just people running at him. You need so many items just to not die to people jumping you. I don't really see Core Silencer being strong, so it's going to be position 5 Silencer, maybe position 4, and you're going to be really happy about this. Still probably going to be more from niche hero. Skywrath Mage, incredibly minor changes here. I don't care about this. Slark gets some extra armor reduction. That's a pretty big deal. Especially level 1, 8 to 10 is a big deal. Build Midas in every hero now. Midas Alchemist. Yeah, no. Nope. I think it's going to be a problem in this patch that people are going to build too many Midas at the start. Like, yes, Midas is a lot better than it used to be, but keep in mind that we're going from the absolute worst item in Dota to an item that's now more like reasonable. It's not the Midas patch. Midas isn't broken. It's just now a reasonable item. It's now an option. Okay, Slada. -4 corrosive haze armor. That's a pretty big deal. Yeah, 5 Midas lineups. Like, remember that one major where like everyone was building Midas? You had these teams with like 3 or 4 Midases, but like even in that major, still the most successful teams didn't build as many Midases. The most successful teams only built like 1 Midas or 2 Midases, or maybe even none at all. Yeah. So don't build too many Midases. Yeah, what Demon Günther says is quite right. Midas is one of these items that is like just like too generic in what it gives. Like every hero wants gold, every hero wants experience. So Midas sort of balanced on Razor's edge between being useless and being so strong that everyone wants to buy it. So we have to wait and see. Maybe it's going to be broken this patch, but my feeling is that it's more in the reasonable range. Slark gets a very slight nerf in terms of attack speed. Okay. Maybe a Slada I didn't really say. I think it's actually now pretty good. Like, this is a very big buff here. This is pretty good here. This is marginal. I feel like Slada could be quite good. Demon Günther did a stat analysis on Midas, and only experienced supports actually have positive win rates with Midas. So are you going by like Dota buff win rates? If so, then these data are heavily skewed, because cores that go Midas in a successful game usually end up selling the item eventually because they run out of slots. But if you're having a bad game, then you tend to have still Midas in your inventory by the end of the game. So that just naturally reduces the win rate of Midas cores. So whereas as a support, you almost never have enough net worth to actually sell your Midas. So I think that analysis is really flawed and doesn't really reflect the real strength of Midas. Always you have to take those item win rates on Dota buff with a huge grain of salt, because it's like items that remain in the inventory at the end of the game. If you go by these win rates, then the best item in the game is like Divine Rapier or Gem or something like that, because, well, if you have those items in your inventory, you're almost never losing. Because if you lose them, then you lose those items before that. And by a similar rate, you're gonna sell your items you're gonna sell your Midas in the winning game much more often than a losing game. Okay, so Snapfire. Scatterblast now slows attack speed by 100. That can make this ability really strong, and Little Shredder loses this attack speed slow. But now this is armor by 1 per attack for 4 seconds. And the attack damage is reduced. while you sell Midas when you're 6 losses. So, but like if you have Midas on a Quorn, you're having a good game. Oftentimes you're gonna end up selling your Midas eventually. Whereas if you have a bad game, you typically don't get to that point. That's why Midas is always going to have a poor win rate on cores, especially on cores that farm a lot. Okay, so I feel like Snapfire is going to be quite a bit stronger with this. So in lane, you typically don't really level up Little Shredder anyway. So Scatterblast is going to be straight up stronger, and your Cookie is going to be the same. And like later on, this Little Shredder is going to be better than it used to be because now we have the armor reduction. So it's just feel like this just straight up makes Snapfire a lot better than it used to be. Okay, and Talon's also better. Okay, or actually, like maybe the Scatterblast applies 2.5 second disarm was better. But like you have attack speed slow anyway, so maybe the disarm is no longer as necessary. And you have 3 times Little Shredder multi-shot. So you're also reducing armor a lot, so I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not sure about this change, but everything here is a big buff. I feel like Snapfire is going to be one of the strongest supports with these buffs. Sniper, shrapnel damage reduced from 20, 40, 60, 80 to 20, 35, 50, 65. So that's definitely going to hurt Sniper. Also the Aghanims. Actually, not just the Aghanims, but just generally. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. It is the Aghanim Scepter. So Scepter is worse. This is basically Icebrook saying, stop playing support sniper, you shits. Okay, what is chat saying? I know that above calculations aren't 100% accurate, but still, Ogre plus 1.78, Warlock plus 1.23, Dazzle 1.001, Silencer plus 0.1. Win rate bonus with Midas, so okay. That's interesting. But once again, you have to also take these stats with a bit of caution, because like, if you're support and you're having a really terrible game, you're probably not going to buy Midas. Like if you have a really bad start, you can't afford to buy Midas, because like having Midas by like minute 25 is just game ruining. If you have this really bad start, you just have to abandon your plan of going Midas. So it's always problematic to use these win rates from DotA buff. Okay, so let's soldier on. We already had S. Spectre, base health region reduced by 1, so it's going to make a laning stage a lot worse. Shadow Step can now target spell immune units. That's, I believe, the Aghanim's ability. Haunt illusions no longer have fixed 4 movement speed and no longer have a 1 second delay on acting, so they're going to be a bit better. This is like a slight nerf, usually, probably. Like, do Haunt illusions get bonus movement speed from Dagger? I'm not sure. But like regularly going to have a bit less than 4 movement speed typically. Desolate gets a buff, more damage, and smaller search radius. Means the creeps don't have to be quite as far away to get the bonus damage, but you no longer get the reduced vision. So that's a bit of a pity. It's going to make Haunt. Like that's like one of the annoying things about being haunted, that you no longer had vision, but now you just get more damage or receive more damage. And also you're just more likely to get that Desolate damage. So a bit of a cycle to Spectre, but like this sort of hits her in the Achilles heel, which is her laning phase. Having that huge mana, also a huge HP region in the laning stage was a big part of what made Spectre so strong. So losing some of that is gonna hurt. And this is more for like marginal changes. I'm not sure if, actually not even sure if Spectre is worse, because like the Desolate changes are pretty good, especially for farming. So I think like a side grade, I think Spectre is still going to be one of the strongest carries in this patch. Yeah, what Garvin said, I'm also surprised she didn't get some straight up bigger nerfs. Spirit Breaker, Touch of Darkness cast point reduced. That's definitely an important improvement. And slightly stronger level 15 talent, so slightly buffed Spirit Breaker. Still probably not the strongest hero. Storm Spirit gets some agi, and Ball Lightning travel cost per 100 units reduced. Okay, so this is, I'm not really a Storm player, but this is probably pretty big, I would guess. Is Midas worth now on Lone Druid situationally? I don't think so. I think just Mask of Madness is too strong. I can't really see myself going minus on Lone Druids. I'm not going to say it's never the correct item, but probably not. So Storm Spirit, some slight buffs here. Like I'm not sure how big of a change this is. But yeah, Storm Spirit felt a bit weak, so it makes sense. Sven was one of the most underutilized heroes, at least sort of a high level play, which is kind of weak. So it's like in last patch, even though Sven is like really strong against all these Sue heroes, he still was never picked. That's how weak Sven was. So now he's getting some buffs. 10 movement speed is a big deal, especially on a kiteable hero like Sven. And just like 320 movement speed is insane. So much movement speed. Stormhammer Dispel Talent is now able to target Cyclone units. Okay, that's nice to have. Warcry no longer provides bonus damage. The movement speed is now provided for allies as well. Wait, wasn't it? I haven't played Sven in forever. Warcry movement speed bonus reduced from 10 to 22 to 8 to 20. Okay, so yeah, it's only 20 now, but it's off a bigger base, so also less expensive at lower levels, so that's pretty good. Great Cleave is increased in the range, the radius. Well, it's not really a radius because it's not a circle, but like, you know what I mean. The max range is increased and it's like a cone-shaped thingy, I think. God Strength no longer provides strength, but now more bonus damage. So again, sort of going back to the roots, and the duration is increased by a lot. Like that's huge. That's a huge buff. Like that's like a side grade, probably in the whole like a nerf. Like it's better in the late game, but weaker in the early game. But like this is huge. From 25 to 40 is a big deal. Level 25 talent from 32 strength to 50% bonus damage. That's probably strong in the late game. Yeah, Sven is going to be a lot stronger now. Is he good enough? I'm not sure. I'm tempted to say that probably he's good enough. At least in the right game. So, we have to see. But yeah, like this is just such a big change. It's always so short, this God Strength, but now it's 40-second, that's a lot more reasonable. Templar Assassin. Meld armor reduction rescaled from 2468 to 5678. Yeah, what I meant by probably is that probably good enough to be a reasonable hero. Obviously, he's a lot stronger, but he was completely awful before, so it's a question of whether he's good enough now. GGM, I'm not from Sweden. I'm half Icelandic. My father's from Iceland, but I live in Germany and I'm a German citizen. Okay, where were we? TA. So Meld is much stronger now. Yes, more cooldown, but like 5 armor reduction on 1, that's huge. And the level 25 talent is increased. So a bit of a buff to TA, which I don't like to see. I find it very annoying to land against TA. So I want this hero to die in the fire, but like objectively speaking, she wasn't too strong, so I can't really complain too much here. Terrorblade. Meta no longer can't speak anymore. Okay. Meta no longer reduces movement speed. This is pretty big. Level 10 talent reduced from 20 movement speed to 15. You can just always take the other one, which is also pretty decent. Just like buy yourself a wind lace and get the damage talent. I feel like the new drum is really strong on Terrorblade because you're a very mana hungry hero and you want movement speed and you want stats. Like everything the drum does is great, and just the active is really strong in combination with your meta. So I think Terrorblade actually has a good place in this patch. Tidehunter is actually one of my favorite heroes, one of my most played heroes. So I was kind of sad that he was so marginal for so long, but now he's getting some nice buffs here. Base strength increased by 2. Kraken Shell damage block increased by 2 on all levels, and then level 20 talent also increased. So just 3 nice buffs. None of these buffs are like huge, but taken together, that's a pretty big deal. Like especially this one is really nice. It's extra damage, extra HP to play with. Yeah, so Watermelon maybe is back. Timbersaw 1 strength and 0.25 mana regen. It's gonna make his laning stage better. But he loses that mana regen on the level 10 talent, okay. And level 15 talent gets buffed slightly. So some pretty minor buffs here for Timbersaw. Okay, whatever. Tony gets some big changes. Base health regen increased from 0 to 1. That's a pretty big buff. Oh, level 10 TB talent is evasion, not damage. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm confusing that with Naga. Naga has the damage talent at level 10, and the movement speed is the other one for Naga. So yeah, now you have the evasion talent, which is actually pretty meh. So I'm not sure. Maybe you still take the movement speed talent then. Okay, but back to Tony. So this is pretty big. Landing stage, toss duration increase. It's okay, whatever. Avalanche initial protection no longer takes a fixed 0.5 second to arrive at the destination, but instead has a 1200 projectile speed. Okay, actually it worked like that. I thought it would already work like this, but apparently not. So that makes a lot of sense just in terms of how it looks visually. Tree grab no longer slows Tiny by 30 movement speed. Wait, it slowed you? I didn't even know that. Tree grab now has a 5-hit charge limit. You probably can tell I'm not really a Tiny player. So 5-hit charge limit. Unit bonus damage rescaled from 10, 20, 30% to 25%. Building damage increased. Ooh, that's a lot of building damage. That is a lot of building damage. Splash damage increased. So those seem like pretty big buffs here. Crow bonus damage rescaled from 30, 45, 60 to 25, 50 to 75. So a bit of a side grid here, but overall probably a buff. It's like it's plus 15 at level 3. And you're only losing out 5 at level 1, and you're gaining 5 at level 2, so yeah. Tiny is now a siege hero. Okay. Rip carry Tiny, says Günther. Why is carry Tiny dead? Because of the tree grab changes? Yeah, maybe. But I felt like I felt like Tiny carry was never really that strong in last patch, so, and like this is definitely going to make like position 4 Tiny and like position 3 or 2 Tiny probably a lot better. So I think this is definitely overall a big buff to Tiny. Okay, Treant Protector. Leech is now an enemy target spell again. Deals, okay, 6 damage per level, per pulse, and heals allies within 650 range. Lasts 5 seconds with a pulse per second. Slows the target. So, like, back to what it was, basically. Eyes in the first now has 3 charges with 40-second replenish time. What was the cooldown before? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what this does to Treant balance. Troll Warlord. Level 15 talent change from 3 max feather stacks to 5 max feather stacks. Okay, that's pretty big. The other one is now 90 rolling X damage instead of 70. So some reasonable buffs to level 15 talent. But overall I still feel like Troll Warlord is not that strong currently. So this is probably not good enough to make him like a strong hero. Tusk, again taking literally no damage. Snowball damage per ally increased. Okay. I feel like that's not really a big deal. Like snowball damage isn't that significant. Yeah. Minus 8 second cooldown. That could be quite nice. This means you can use it a lot more often in fights, save people more often. Like this is definitely the biggest change. Just 1 armor on a melee hero is always great, especially on a strength hero. Underlord, also getting extra attack range, like Doom. And it kind of makes sense just visually. He has this big cleaver thing or whatever, spear or whatever he's attacking with. He should have some extra range. Atrophy Aura no longer provides permanent bonus damage, so that's a big nerf. But creep death damage rescaled from 5 to 4, 5, 6, 7. And the duration is now 75 at max level. So level 1 Atrophy Aura is definitely worse, but next level Atrophy Aura is going to be quite good. This definitely hurts, but what this does significantly is it's going to make the Aghanim's quite a bit stronger because you just have like 40% more bonus damage here. The Aghanim's duration is still going to be 100 seconds regardless of this. So this makes me very excited for Underlord Visage. I've never actually been able to try this combination in an actual game, but I'm pretty sure that it's very strong. So you provide so much bonus damage. Even if you just like push down the lane, you're gonna have like 150 damage or something with this new thing, and then it's like 75 bonus damage to burst. That's insane. And like once you have like a fight where you like kill 3 heroes or something like that, you're gonna basically be like tripling the burst damage. It's insane. Okay. Also a bunch of other buffs here. Firestorm cast point reduced. Like the cast points in Underlord just feel so bad. It's just this hero feels so sluggish. Everything is such a high cast point, so this improves things a little bit here. I am one of the earliest Visage spammers from 2016 and never saw any Underlord want to go accepted with my message. Feels bad, man, but like earliest Visage spammers, like 2016? Come on, the series is a lot older than that. Okay, Firestorm AoE increased from 400 to 490 at max level. Debuff no longer ignores Ancients, that's a pretty big deal. But still ignores the Roshan. Feels bad, man. That was so broken when you could just use Firestorm against Roshan. Yeah. Underlord was out much later, but like Visage is like a really old hero from DotA 1. Yeah, I mean, Garvin, I agree that Axe Underlord is like not that great in most games, but with like certain heroes like Visage, it's I think borderline broken. Okay, yeah, and then Pit of Malice cooldown reduced, like 20 movement speed, equivalent to 5 armor. That's great, you know. 20 movement speed, you can buy that. It costs 250 gold. You can buy 4 armor and it costs 550 gold, so big buff here. Yeah, these talent changes are great. So yeah, I feel like Underlord is going to be quite strong in this patch. Okay, Flesh Golem no longer deals damage per second, no increases damage. Zombies do. Flesh Golem debuff now also increases all damage the target takes by 25, 30, 35. Okay, so zombies don't do bonus damage, but like all damage is increased, so that just means the hero damage is also going to be increased against people affected by Flesh Golem, so that feels like a pretty big buff. Okay. Earthshock slow reduced. Thank God. Earthshock cooldown increased, so yeah, that ability was so strong. Hello, how's it pronounced? Faunus Chain. Hello there. And rage cooldown increased. Yeah, that seems like some sweet justice here. Ursa definitely one of the strongest heroes in the last patch, so getting some well-deserved nerfs here seems good. I don't think these changes kill Ursa, but definitely gonna see less of him, which is great. Venge, Wave of Terror, Vision Area increase, okay. And level 20 talent change from 6 Vengeance Aura attribute to 100 Vengeance Aura attack range. Interesting. Not sure if this is better or worse. And then the other one is now plus 200 magic missile damage. Okay, so like slight buffs to Venge. Doesn't change too much. Venomancer gets extra movement speed. Now it's also swift as the Wolf's Vicerak. Poison sting damage increased from 6 to 8 level 1 and from 24 to 32 level 4, but no longer reaches HP region. So these two combined are definitely a nerf. Well, they're like a buff to farming, but against heroes definitely a nerf. Plague Ward health increase at lower levels. That's nice, because like level 1 wards were like so easy to kill. Now it's a bit more reasonable, 120. Poison Noah Scepter cooldown reduced. Okay, and level 10 talent from 12 second Plague Ward duration to plus 15. Okay, feel like on the whole, probably a buff, but like this definitely hurts. This definitely hurts. But on the whole, probably a buff. It's like a lot of little buffs and like this one big nerf. Viper, another one of my favorite heroes, who I haven't really played much in lately because it's like Viper basically means you win the lane and you just lose anyway, because you just fall off so hard. But now you get base damage increased by 2, so even more of a lane dominator, because like even though you're strong at trading a lane, you're not actually that good at farming a lane and you're last hitting and denying because you have such low base damage and not the best attack animation. And then int increased, so also important for Viper, very mana hungry hero. So this hero is really good now. I feel like Drum is a good item on this hero. Helps with your sluggishness a little bit and with the mana problems. Yeah, you can still go for the 8-sauce build if you want to, or something more right-click oriented. Visage attack projectile increased from 900 to 1000. Soul Assumption mana cost reduced. This is a pretty big deal. This is a big deal right here. And then level 15 talent, more armor corruption. You're probably still going to take the Soul Assumption talent most of the time, but at least now this is more of an option. But like the big changes are this here and this here. It's going to make laning a lot easier. Like Visage has such bad attack animation, his projectiles are slow, just feels really bad last sitting with Visage, and this is going to make things a little bit easier. And now it's going to make your laning stage stronger. It's going to provide a bigger incentive just to put a value point into Soul Assumption as a core. So yeah, these are pretty nice buffs and some compensation for the item nerfs that Visage received. And I feel like with these, after the item nerfs, Visage was a bit underwhelming, but now with these buffs, I think it's actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good spot here. Okay, Void Spirit. I hear question, why doesn't Valve want to remake Scepter for Visage? Yeah, what Garvin said, it seems reasonable. Yeah, it's a bit boring, I agree, but it's not weak, and it's like a situational scepter that can be good. It's a bit greedy item, but can be strong. Void Spirit, Resonant Pulse, Scepter, charge replenish time increased from 16 to 18. So like the slightest of nerfs to Void Spirits. Can we just nerf this hero a bit more? He's annoying. I want to play against this. Warlock, Shadowwood, cast range increased. Okay, whatever, that's not the biggest deal. Viva, Shakuchi, speed increased. Okay, slightly increased. Okay. Time-lapse scepter cooldown increased from 16 to 20. Cast range reduced. Oh, this is gonna make support Weaver a lot worse. Also offlane Weaver. Like, this is so much worse than it used to be. Like, especially, like, okay, this is not that partial for nerf, but like, this is the big one. 600 range is so much less than 1000. Level 10 talent changed from 6 agi to 15 damage. Is that better? I don't know. On Visage, on Weaver. Possibly. Possibly. Level 15 talent from 15 mana break to 20. Okay. So, yeah, as Garvin says in the chat, support and offlane Weaver is a lot worse. Not just a little bit worse, but like a lot worse. Like, you probably just don't play this hero as a support anymore. But as like a position 1 or possibly 2, Weaver is a bit better than he used to be. Wind Ranger, focus fire and pauses firing if you issue the stop or halt commands. Wait, it didn't do that already? If you right click on target, it will resume again. Okay, that makes sense. Winter's Curse cooldown increased from 80 to 90. Okay, whatever. Witch Doctor. Level 20 talent changed from 1 Maledictic to 15% Maledictic burst damage. Like, I don't really care. It's level 20 talent on the support. It doesn't change anything. Wraith King, base damage increased by 3, that's pretty big. Vampiric Aura no longer provides attack damage or self bonus mechanics, so that's compensating for this. So actually, it'll only going to have less damage, but you no longer have to skill Vampiric Aura level 1, you can actually stop the stun. Vampiric Aura lifesteal increased a bit more, but you no longer have the self bonus. But now has half effect on range 0, so it's no longer as limiting in terms of team composition. Okay, so what do I think about that change overall? Also, here also a buff to skeleton damage, slightly more damage for skeletons. But because they lose the Vampiric Aura, actually it's going to be less. But it's going to be more when they're not in aura range, which often they're not going to be. When you just let them, push out lanes or camps or whatever. So, bit of a side grade. It's hard to tell whether that's actually better or worse. My instincts say maybe slightly better, but I'm not sure. Okay, actually at the very last hero, and it is Zeus as expected. Movement speed increased from 300 to 310, that's pretty big. Arc Lightning damage increased. So just 5 across the board. Lightning Bolt mana cost increased from 90 to 125 at level 1. Like, that is a big deal. Level 4, 135 to 140. Okay, whatever. Slight nerf, but level 1, this is so much worse now. Probably not even going to skill Lightning Bolt at the very start now. Probably unlike you skill like Arc Lightning, Passive, and maybe then leveling up Lightning Bolt, or maybe even taking a second point in Arc Lightning, because Arc Lightning is actually better now. So yeah, this is kind of a big nerf to Zeus. Thunder God's Wrath, damage increased by 50, but cooldown increased by 30. Probably overall enough. It's like in the early game it's going to be better, certainly, but later on, a lot of that is sort of around just providing vision and just providing damage instances for your passive. Yeah, Garvin says he'd still go bolt for mid. Range grip secure is still pretty big. Yeah, but I can secure range grip with Arc Lightning. Like, that's fine, you don't need bolt for that. And you're also going to harass the opponent at the same time. Like, of course, with bolt, what you can do with bolt is you can like use that for the mini stun to disrupt in the last hit. That's something you can do with that ability, but in terms of just last hitting those range creeps, lightning bolt is not necessary. You don't need that ability, you can just use arc lighting for that. Nimbus cooldown increased 35 to 45. That's also pretty big nerf. Like, you always go for the Aghanims on Zeus. So that's definitely a blow. Level 10 talent, less mana region. Level 25 talent, more cast range. So yeah, I'm not sure if overall this is like a buff or nerf, because like that's a pretty big buff. Movement speed is always a very important attribute. So yeah, I would say Zeus probably overall slightly weaker, but only slightly. Okay, that is all the heroes. It is 4:42, so maybe like a very brief summary before I turn this off and go to sleep. So yeah, big changes. What are like the big hero changes here? We have, Bloodseeker. I have honestly no idea what this is going to do to Bloodseeker. Just going to have to try this out, how good this is. Other big hero changes. Centaur, I think, is probably slightly stronger with this. Chaos Knight seems like a really strong carry now. Clinks, also huge reworks. Hard to tell how much that's really gonna hurt him or benefit him. Darkseer getting some nice buffs. Doom, I think, is pretty strong now. Earthshaker getting some big buffs. Enge, like, I'm really excited for the potential return of core Enge. You know, sproing people by attacking with a huge range, extra attack range, and that jump back with sproing is huge. What else? Like Leshrac, I think is going to be very, very strong. He was already quite good before this patch, and now he's even better now. Big loser of the patch, obviously Lone Druid, Quop. I feel like it's a bit unfair that Lone Druid probably got nerfed worse than Quop, even though I feel like Quop is like even more meta defining than Lone Druid. But yeah, Lone Druid just isn't allowed to be strong for too long. Yeah, Medusa returning back to her roots. I think it's going to be really strong. What else? OD, perhaps no longer just the Outhouse Destroyer, maybe a hero again. What else do we have? Quap obviously hurt, but not too much. Razor, I have no idea how it's going to play out. Maybe it's going to be broken, maybe it's going to be very weak. Maybe somewhere in between. Yeah, overall like a very interesting patch. Like Sven, probably one of the biggest beneficiaries of this patch. But he was just so weak before that I'm not sure if it's actually good enough now. Yeah, the Titan are also big winner here, as is Viper. Viper with his base damage and such. There was like tiny changes. I'm honestly not quite sure how this is going to play out. Yeah, exactly, Jane. That losing that passive is a big nerf, but he's got a bunch of other buffs to compensate for that. So, not sure how that's going to play out. And yeah, I think Underlord is going to be strong. Ursa, thankfully, nerfed a bit. And I'm really happy about the visage changes. Like those are like the thing I'm most excited about in this new patch. Like this and the changes to Viper and Tidehunter. Those are like two of my favorite heroes that I really haven't played much in recent months because it was just so weak. But now maybe I can go back to playing them a bit more. Alright. Let's see if there's some more in chat. Biggest winners of the patch, I think I've more or less answered that. Yeah, Medusa, big winner of the patch probably. Okay, so there's no more questions. I think I'm going to sign off and collapse. Thank you for biggest nerf of this patch. Probably Lone Druid. Followed by like Quap and Ursa. Okay, so see everyone, have fun exploring the new patch, and hopefully replays are gonna start working again soon. So I actually wanted to make a video today, but just couldn't because replays were bugged. But I'm having the stream right now, so that makes up for it. And yeah, have a good night or good day or wherever you are. Bye bye.